Okay, zoning board, you are live. You are recording. Phone lines are opened. Go for it.
Thank you, Matt. I'd like to welcome everyone to the East Hampton Zoning Board of Appeals meeting of March 24th, 2026. We have 4 scheduled public hearings tonight, and I'm going to begin with the first one, which is Diane Caputi, 126 Grant Drive, Montauk, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 300-45-1-6. The description is to allow equipment to remain 13.2 feet from the rear yard property line where 20 is required. Relief sought is a variance from 255-1110, Table of Dimensional Regulations, and any other necessary relief. The following variance is required. A variance of 6.8 feet to allow the pool equipment to remain 13.2 feet from the side yard lot line where 20 feet is required. Zoning district is a B resident zone X flood zone. Secret class is type 2. Council, is the affidavit of service posting in order?
Yes, I reviewed the affidavits of service and posting, and everything seems to be in order, and the board has jurisdiction over this hearing.
Thank you. Member Berger, do we have a field inspection?
Oh, there's
Working
no
on
photos
pulling
over
that up.
here.
Wait a minute, he's new to it.
Sam, I think you're going to have to do the input again. Hey, there you go.
We don't have.
Tim, are we able to show the photos on the screen?
Yeah.
It's not, doesn't seem to be showing up.
Terry. Just read that. Do you know? I didn't write it down.
Yeah, I can't remember.
I'll let you know. For hearing.
I'll share. One. Okay, now you can drag it.
Passing notes in school, I
Thank you.
think.
Thank you.
All right, let me get those photos up for you.
Thank you, Jake.
Of course. It's still not displaying properly.
I have to go up there and
Are they on the other screen?
I think so.
You can go at the podium, I guess.
Yeah.
Then we'd all like to see
Matt, we
you.
seem to be having some issues with sharing the screen.
Oh,
No, you're not. It's up right now. But it will be up.
Oh,
There we
there you
go.
go. Good job.
Good job.
Member Berger?
yes. Okay. Well, this is just a shot of the front of the house at 126 Grant. Next, this is a posting that was in front. Actually, I found two postings in front here, and I was a little confused as to why. I did discover later that there were actually two front yards on this. The other side is on Roosevelt, but it looked like Roosevelt was, there was a house between the Roosevelt intersection and this house until you got to the other side of the road. So, but this is one of the postings. It was posted, it was folded, but it was legible. Next. This is the other posting that I found. Next. And this is a shot. I just turned across the street. I have a number of shots of the neighborhood. This is here, the hills. There's a lot of hilly topographical houses, and it's a mixed bag in terms of character. A lot of the old cottages, and then new additional houses that were built, and very varied in nature. Next, this is a shot down Grant Drive at that. In this portion of Grant Drive, it ends up at the intersection of Roosevelt. It comes off the old Montauk Highway. Next. Now this is the driveway, and I'm going to go into the property. The pool is actually just on the other side of the fence, in front of where my car is parked. Next. But before I do that, I took another shot of the nearest next door neighbors on the same side as the house on to the west of Ms. Caputi's house. Next. And it's a photo of the pool. And in the distance there with the wooded enclosure, that is where the pool equipment is, and that is what is in front of us today for a side yard variance. So I'm going to go to that. Next. I just took a shot from there to the fencing that the applicant has on the property, and there were some arborvitae or something over there. They're not densely covered from the neighboring house. There is a house right back there, and there are a number of houses that are kind of close to this location. Some of the ones that you saw earlier in the photos. Next. And that's another shot of some of that shrubbery, and a little bit better shot of the neighbor on the other side from where this pool equipment is situated. Next. Okay, and this is the area, I believe there had been a conforming location on this application when the swimming pool permit was done. That showed the area where it was. So, next.
That's it.
That's it?
Yes.
No.
That's all that's in the file.
And you didn't take everything.
All right, thank you.
Well, there's a couple more, but anyway, generally, let me just point out then, since he didn't get the other shots. If you go straight through that property to those trees, that is where Roosevelt Avenue comes down. And so that was the other front yardage, even though the posting was, they were both on Grant, but one should have been over there on Roosevelt. Anyway, you can come.
Is there someone here to speak on behalf of this application? Can you come to the dais and identify yourself, and I'll have to swear you in.
Okay. Diane Caputi, I'm the owner of the house.
Do you affirm to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I did.
Thank you. You can proceed.
Yeah, so we had discussed with the applicant about me presenting first here to just give a little background, and then Diane
Sure.
will be available to answer
Okay.
any questions and provide some more background there. Jay
Do you
Kushner.
affirm to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do. Jay Kushner with the Planning Department. Good evening, Board. So this project is at 126 Grant Drive. It's a 16,647 square foot parcel. It's in the Montauk Beach Hither Hills section, an area characterized by pretty intensive residential development. The parcel itself here is not within the jurisdiction of any protected natural features. Again, it's to allow pool equipment to remain 13.2 feet from the side yard lot line where 20 is required. The parcel is partially cleared and improved with a 2-story residence with decking, walking, driveways, sanitary system, shed, and the pool. Development on the subject parcel is pretty typical of the neighborhood. So for the pool, a stop work order was issued June 25th, 2024 for the construction of pool without a building permit. Shortly after, July 9th, 2024, a building permit was issued for the pool. The plans that were approved at this time depicted the pool equipment in a conforming location. Instead, they were constructed in that southern corner, thus requiring a setback variance because there are doubled setbacks for pool equipment and pools. So it's currently screened from view by that wooden enclosure and the large screen trees. So I'd be happy to answer any additional questions, and then the applicant can speak to how this occurred.
Well, the questions I have, Jake, would be for the applicant.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I guess my first question is, why did you not put it in a conforming location? Was there a reason for it?
So I had a pool guy who submitted the permit, and he never told me that it was in a specific location, and that it was actually approved, because I've never done a pool permit. And I didn't know he didn't get a permit until I got shut down, because he told me he had a permit in the December before that. So they shut down my project for a while because he wasn't paying apparently his workers' comp. He was trying to get the project done without that. So that was all unbeknownst to me. I didn't really know that. So where I put the pool, where I thought I could put the pool equipment, I thought was in compliance because of I thought it was a 10-foot setback. And honestly, I don't really know where else to put it. As you were saying, the property is, it's like a very special property, and I was trying to keep the integrity of the property because it's like the Catskills. It's like hilly trees, and the property goes up and down all over. So it's very hard to build any structure because there's not a lot of flat land. So I tried to make it work for the land because I bought the property because it's beautiful.
Yes.
So anyway, then I came to find out after I finished the whole project that I was in compliance by 6 foot.
Does the board have any other questions?
There was apparently an approved building permit, and on that building permit, there was an approved location. And that was given to the pool.
I know, but I didn't know that that was even part of the permitting, and he never told me when he was building the pool equipment that, oh, by the way.
My question to you is that new location, the location you're in here tonight to try to get approval for, was that one that was decided upon by the contractor or by you? Was that something?
Well, he didn't tell me that it had to be in a specific spot, so I picked a spot that I wouldn't have to take any more trees down. I didn't have to take any hills down. And I had rebuilt this house 5 years ago. I had a fire and it burned down. It was a little house. And I put a bigger house, but not a very big house for the property size. And so I tried to do everything conforming. I had to re-veg a lot of property, and then I had to add more re-veg. So if I don't even know where else I could put it, between hills or taking down more trees or breaking into hills. It's just, I don't know what to do with it, honestly. So it's in and the neighbor behind me, those arborvitaes, they're actually Leland cypress, which is crazy that everybody puts them, but they're big and thick in the summer, and we have plenty of distance. I mean, the pool ran all summer last summer with no problem. So I honestly, brought pictures to show you with that tree and the slope. I don't know where I'd put it. If I move it 6 foot up, I've taken another tree down. The tree root of the tree I had to take for the pool was like the size of this room. So I just don't want to keep hurting the property.
Yeah, now, on the permit, though, the proposed pool.
I wish I would have known that then.
Location was right off your deck there.
So if somebody could show me where that was, I could show you on the property. It probably wasn't even possible because I was trying to make it possible.
Well, there's no tree there where.
If you tell me where, seriously, I don't know where it was approved because I never saw it.
Right off that first-story deck on the south side.
So that's a hill.
Before
I had
the hill.
put stairs there because I couldn't get down the hill.
Drop-off, but before the hill, but, okay.
I think we're all on the property.
Before what? Before the stairs were there?
Excuse me?
Before the stairs were there, you're saying? I mean, I knew somebody was on the property yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I didn't know that it was supposed to go there.
And he never showed you the survey.
Never. And I've never done a pool before. I swear in my life I would never have a pool, and I want to shoot myself for putting one in. It hasn't been easy.
Now, it's just that the concern is that if this were approved, it's approved in perpetuity. So, it'll go with the land, and another owner will come in or another neighbor will come in, and they might not be as.
Well, I hope nobody takes the house ever, but hope to keep it in my family for many generations. But honestly, I don't know where else to put it. I'm being honest. I mean, I try to make him pay for it. You see, he didn't show up. He didn't do anything he's supposed to do, but the pool still isn't even working properly. It was a bad pool builder. You know, and I've taken the brunt of it now for almost 2 years. I had to even renew the pool permit because he wouldn't close the permit. So I had to renew the permit.
Thank you.
Sorry. Yeah, thanks.
Appreciate your presentation. Thank you.
Thanks.
Dave, do you have anything else to add?
No, we don't have anything else to add from the department.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to address this? Matt, do we have any callers?
Yes, you do. Stand by, please. And we're going to unmute last 4 digits, 1667. You are live.
Maybe not.
1667. You are live. Do we want to go on to the next caller?
There's another
It
call?
sounds like we should.
Yeah.
Okay, it just muted that one. And let's unmute last 4 digits, 0497. You are live. Zero 497. You are live.
That's a difficulty. Two.
Okay, let's mute that. And I'm actually going to unmute my line just to make sure that everything is clear. Just stand by 1 second. And this is Matt Chapman calling in from LTV, making sure that everything is good.
Yep, we hear you.
I hear everything good. And do we want to try these numbers again?
Yes, let's try them one more time.
Okay, let's do the first caller, 1667. You are live. Okay, we're going to go with the second caller, 0497. You are live.
Yeah, hello, this is Peter Lichten. Can you hear me?
Oh, that's
Oh,
right.
different hearing.
Yes, we can hear him.
Yeah, I'm waiting for our permit to come up.
I see.
I'm just on the line waiting.
Oh,
He's for the hearing.
you're here for a different application?
Mhm.
Thank you, Mr. Lipkin. Okay.
Yes.
Is there, Ms. Caputi, would
we're
you like,
third.
would you like
Sorry.
to add anything else to your presentation?
Just 1 second, I'm sorry, ZBA. Peter, this is LTV. Which application are you for?
It's here for the next one.
I think it's the third one. It's for the Lichten.
Oh, yes.
Lichten.
Okay, perfect. Yep.
Oh,
Excellent. Thank you. Just stay on the line.
Okay, thank you.
So, Ms. Caputi, is there anything else you'd like to add? Member Berger, would you like to make a motion to close the
Sure.
public hearing and
Okay, so
record?
for the application of Diane Caputi at 126 Grant Drive in Montauk, tax map 300-045-01-06, and make a motion to close the public hearing and the public record.
I'll second it.
I concur.
I concur.
I concur.
Thank you, Mrs. Caputi. The next public hearing is SBMFG LLC, 4 Tyson Lane, East Hampton, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 300-189-6-9. The description is to legalize a basketball court built 19.3 feet from side yard property line and 2 generators placed 5.0 feet and 5.4 feet from the side yard property line. Relief sought are variances from 255-1110 and 255-1188, definition of plain court. The following variances are required. A variance of 30.7 feet to allow the existing basketball court to remain 19.3 feet from the side yard lot line where 50 is required. Variances of 10 feet and 9.6 feet to allow 2 generators to remain 5 feet and 5.4 feet respectively from the side yard lot line where 15 feet is required. A variance is also being requested for 700 square feet to allow total lot coverage to remain 21,959 square feet when the maximum allowable coverage is 21,259 square feet, and any other relief necessary. Council, is the notice of public hearing?
Yeah,
In order?
I reviewed the notice, everything seems to be in order, and the board has jurisdiction over this.
Member Mehring, do you have a field inspection?
Yes, thank you, Chair, I do. So just to orient, Tyson Lane takes its access off of Further Lane on the south side, and some may know Tyson Lane is like a U shape, so, and this property and the one next to it are, well, and others next to it are on the sort of south bottom of the U. The property this is 4 Tyson Lane. You can see the address sign tipped over a little bit. There's the posting. There is another posting actually on 2 Tyson, which I got a picture of later. And I know sometimes we find postings like when things are on private roads or like off the main road. I know sometimes people post on the main road. That didn't happen. I don't think that's required. I just wanted to notice the postings are on the properties, you know, on that private road. Next slide. I just took a little shot. I think this is looking west on Tyson, just from standing in front of their driveway, and this is looking west. Next slide. I think I'm looking east. Yeah, that's east on Tyson, just so you can get a sense. Next slide. Okay, so I've gone on, that gate was there where the posting was. I've gone through that gate, and you can see it on the survey. This is the parking court. There's the house, and I'm looking sort of southeast at this moment, looking at the house. Next slide. I just pivoted my body to looking to the west. This is the western edge of the parking court. And then in the distance, you can see the blue surface there is the basketball court. That's part of the application. And then beyond that is, what's it called? This references a pavilion or something else, but it's like an open air structure. I didn't really actually get a good picture of it, but in the corner, that would be kind of beyond that tree, sort of to the left of that open air structure. I think that is where the 2 generators are. I don't think I got a good picture of it. Next slide. I've just moved a little more west, walking along. So there's a driveway. Once you come into that parking court, to the right, running to the west, is another driveway that goes towards 2 Tyson Lane. I'll get to that later. So just a little closer look of the area around the court, and there's open space between the large parking court and the beginning of the basketball court. Next slide. Yeah, just moving, further away from the house and more towards, so just another view of the court. Next slide. And so once you get to the end of this driveway, this goes onto another sort of private drive that's gated off. I think the gate, in front of that gate on Tyson, it says 2 Tyson Lane. So just we're at this sort of western edge of this parcel. Next slide. Yeah, so I turn my back. This is this other access road and the gate that has the address of 2 Tyson on it. Next slide. All right, now I'm heading east now. This is the rest of the driveway that heads east. This is part of the front facade of the house. I took beyond the court, I took pictures of most of the property since we have a coverage variance, so I just wanted to make sure everyone sees what's on the property. So now I'm heading west towards the end of that driveway. Next slide. And now I've gone around that eastern facade of the house. I'm going towards the south side of the property. You can see there's a slate patio there, and then there are these gravel-like pathways. Next slide. And now I've wrapped around, this is the rear of the house or the south side of the house. And again, I'm looking down, again, you can't really see it here, towards the playing courts, the basketball court, and the property to the south is just off the camera. I think I have one more, maybe? Was that it?
One more.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Yeah, and I've just come around the house again. I'm kind of, you can see the gates that I came in through in the distance. Those are the sculptures, and there's the playing court. You can see the space between the parking court and the basketball court. Anything else? Oh yeah, and then when I came out, I realized there was another posting in front of 2 Tyson Lane. I think that's it.
Thank you. Is
Thank
there
you.
someone here to speak on behalf of the application? No, you go.
Good evening, board members. My name's Joan McGivern from Toomey Latham. At the outset, I'd like to note a couple of points. First, the board should know that the applicant takes responsibility for unknowingly building without a permit and is here to rectify that situation. They're not going to blame it on builders. They're taking responsibility. And they've offered to covenant to remove the structures for which relief is sought upon the sale or change of ownership of the applicant's property. The second point I'd like to make is that this is a unique situation in that the immediately adjacent property to Tyson serves as, it's part of a family compound. The 2 properties share their facilities, which is how it came to be that the generator for 2 Tyson is actually on 4 Tyson, and 4 Tyson has a basketball court, but 2 Tyson has a tennis court. So they share the facilities. And as I said, the applicant has offered to covenant that it'll take the basketball court out and move the generators upon sale of the property or change of ownership. And the third point I'd like to make is that the relief of 700 square feet for total coverage should be hopefully looked at in the context of the fact that there's 3,332 square feet of additional allowed coverage because the existing coverage is only 4,650 square feet, and the allowed coverage would be 7,972 square feet. I also would like to point out that, again, in the slides you just saw, much of the roughly 500 square feet is comprised of gravel walkways, which you saw, and that are permeable. And another small amount, you saw the sculptures, they're surrounded by sort of gravel pedestals, which are also permeable. And that accounts for some of the additional coverage. In terms of the factors for evaluating whether to grant the requested variances, the first is whether this will create an undesirable change in the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties. And as mentioned, the immediate neighbor is 2 Tyson, and they've submitted a letter of support. And also, as I mentioned, they operate as sort of one compound. None of this is publicly viewable because of hedges and the way the private lanes are set up. And the applicant, as I mentioned before, has offered to covenant that on sale or change of ownership, the basketball court and generators will be moved and the basketball court removed. The second factor is whether the relief can be achieved by some other means, and that would be no, short of ripping everything out, which would be costly And with respect to the total lot coverage, much of that, as I said, is comprised of permeable walkways. And also, we propose that it is offset by the fact that applicant's property is 3,332 square feet under the total allowed coverage. The third factor is whether the variances are substantial, and I would submit they are. But the only affected neighbor is 2 Tyson, which benefits from having the generator on applicant's property, and also to mitigate and hopefully not set a bad precedent, they've offered the covenant, as I mentioned. The fourth factor is whether this will have an adverse impact or effect on the physical and environmental conditions of the neighborhood or this area of town. It's respectfully submitted that the relief requested will have no impacts on this neighborhood or this area of town, which is quite secluded. Lastly, there is a factor of whether the relief sought was self-created, which shouldn't necessarily preclude the grants requested. And while the variances are self-created, the applicant, as stated at the outset, appreciates the need for a variance and seeks to rectify the situation by legalizing the situation and offering the covenant as I previously described.
Thank you.
You have any questions?
Does the board have any questions?
No.
Well, I have a question.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that the gravel pathways are about 500 square feet, and the variance you're looking for coverage
700.
is 700.
Yes.
But you mentioned the gravel. So even if those gravel pathways would be removed, you'd still have a 200 square foot problem, right? Not that you're offering to remove them, but if I offered it to you as a possible mitigation,
No,
we're still
it's-
not going to come into compliance.
To
We'll
take
still
the,
not be compliant.
oh, well, there's about 150 square feet. Some of it is accounted for by the gravel that surrounds the pedestals that the sculptures are on. So there would still be a small problem.
Yeah,
That
there'd be a
is
problem
correct.
there. So you don't have a direct path of mitigation through removal of that we were just for.
No.
Okay.
I should, as Jake probably will mention, it's a pre-existing non-conforming cleared property, so. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Joan,
Yeah, actually, I do have a question too.
clarify, you call it a family compound, are they in same ownership, 2 and 4?
They're
Not.
in this, not in the same ownership, because that would create a single, they'd lose their single and separate status. But they are beneficially owned by the same entities,
Same family.
same family.
Real family,
Yes.
not.
But is it a trust that
neighbors.
owns both of them?
No,
So they're individually owned by the same family?
yes.
I had one more question. So I know you said that part of the overage on the coverage are the gravel walkways. But I'm just looking at an older survey, predating a survey with the playing court on it.
Right.
So I see those gravel pathways look like they've been there. If I'm reading this, what's the date of the survey? 2016, have been there. But other things have been so the playing court came later.
Came later,
After
after the
right.
CO in
And
2018
there's
was issued. Yeah.
slate patio on the west side that
Right.
I don't see on the 2016 survey, and that was a point where
Yeah.
this property was in compliance with, and I think the whatchamacallits, the sculptures might have been there too. So I guess, an applicant can try to solve a coverage issue any way they want. It seems to me it was the putting in of a slate patio as well as the playing court that really, took this over. I just wanted to make sure I'm seeing that correctly.
Yep,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
I'd like to hear from the planning department. You already got sworn in.
Right, so this property is improved for the 2-story residence with decking, driveways, the walkways, generators, patios, porches, and the 5,083.6 square foot basketball court. The most recent certificate of occupancy was issued in 2018. The court was not included on this CO. The court is first visible on a 2017 aerial imagery. It's not depicted on an aerial image taken in the winter of 2018 and is depicted again on an image taken in April 2018. It's unclear whether the court was removed and replaced during this time frame. So the need for that total coverage relief really results from the construction of the court, the 632 square foot patio on the eastern side of the residence, and then the extension of that slate paver walkway on the western side. So these hardships are self-created. The court was built without the benefit of a building permit. The requested variances are substantial. There are a couple of factors to consider. The entire lot is screened from outside view by a deer fence and large privacy hedges. The generators do have an additional layer of privacy screening as well, further reducing view from neighboring parcel. And then the board should consider that a letter was submitted in support of the application by the affected neighbor to Tyson Lane. As the agent mentioned, they're within the same kind of estate compound. According to the letter, the subject parcel shares facilities with Tyson Lane by mutual agreement. The basketball court and tennis court on both lots are used by residents, guests of both lots, and the generators on 4 Tyson service facilities on 2 Tyson. I'd be happy to answer any additional questions the board might have.
Board have any questions?
Not for me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anyone else wish to speak to this application? Matt, do we have any callers?
You have 0 callers for this particular application. Thank you.
Joan, anything else you want to add? All right, thank you. Member,
If I may, I'm sorry.
oh, sure, go ahead.
A question for Joan. Do you
Can you
have
come
any?
back, Joan? Let her come back to the dais.
I'm not known for my loud voice, sorry.
Oh, that's right. That's why we have the microphones.
Yes.
So Joan, do you have any information or that you can share or knowledge of what happened to the basketball court in that period of 2018 with the 2 different pictures?
No, I was surprised and no one could explain it to me. The CO doesn't have the basketball court on it. And I first learned of it when I received the TAM. So maybe it was a dirt court that they had mapped out and hadn't installed.
Yeah, the reason why I asked.
Because the CO would have mentioned it. That's what I was surprised by.
Right, but since the CO didn't mention the basketball court at all,
No.
I was just curious because if there had been a basketball court that was removed, maybe there was something wrong with the basketball court. It could have been an opportunity to reposition it to not require the variance.
Yes.
I was just curious on that. Thank you.
The poltergeist.
Cover, like a seasonal
The
cover or
poltergeist?
something? Could it have been like a seasonal covering or something like that, maybe? I don't know. You don't know.
I haven't been able to investigate. No one has a recent memory of it.
Mystery. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can we have a motion to
Of
close the
course.
public hearing and record?
Of course. Thank you. In the matter of SB MFG LLC, 4 Tyson Lane, East Hampton, Suffolk County Tax Map 300-189-6-9, I make a motion to close the hearing and the record.
Second. Concur.
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 Our next application is Litchton Family Trust, 38 Surfside Avenue in Montauk, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 300-51-4-3. Description is to remove approximately 40 linear feet of sandbag seawall, allow approximately 122 linear feet of coastal walkway to remain, reconstruct a staircase to the beach, and allow 104 square feet of decking to remain within side yard setbacks on a parcel of land containing coastal bluffs, beaches, and tidal wetlands. Relief sought is a natural resource special permit pursuant to 255-420, a variance from 255-1110, and any other necessary relief. A 4.5-foot variance is required to allow 104 square feet of decking to remain 10.5 feet from the western side yard lot line where a 20-foot setback is required. Zoning district is a B residence VE flood zone. 18 feet, and X flood zone. Secret class is a type 2. Vice Chair, I'm sorry. Is our affidavit of service and posting in order, Council?
I reviewed the affidavits, everything seems to be in order, and the board has jurisdiction.
Thank you. Vice Chair, do we have a field
Yes, thank
inspection?
you. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Guess they're coming up. This is a photo of the posting. It was clearly posted right on the edge of the roadway in front of next to the driveway. Next. I'm just going to take a look up and down here so you can see where we're at on Surfside. Here I'm looking west. Next. I'm going to come back and I'm going to look east. And we've had other applications on Surfside. This is immediately, well, you can go back to it. You can go to the next one. I'm sorry, Brian. Yeah, this is the house that's immediately across the road from the parcel in question. Next. Now I'm looking at the house. This is the, we're going to go down the driveway and come around the house. This is the house from the roadside. Next. I'm going to come along the property. This is that deck that we're still looking at one end of it. We're going to get another view of it. This is the deck that requires the 4.5-foot variance. Next. I've come down past it. I'm looking back. You'll notice we have it on our survey. We'll see the survey later. It's a bit of an L shape. It comes down the west side of the property and then crosses over a bit in front of these doors on the south side. Next. Another view of it. Next. This is a walkway. Now I've gone past the property, past the pool, and I'm looking down towards the ocean. You can see the ocean in the rear. There's a walkway that's constructed that goes from here all the way down to the beach, down to the staircase. Next. I just turned around in that spot, just to give you an idea. There's the pool, there's the house. That's the layout from outside the pool fence as we work our way down to the ocean. Next. Further down, now you can see where the walkway gives way to the staircase. The staircase is in question tonight, will be discussed, but here we are, walkway to platform, and then we're going to see the switchback set of stairs. Next. Now we're going to discuss the sandbag wall. The sandbag wall, there's a picture of it. You can see how extensive it is, the height of it. It's a sizable structure. Next. Down at the base, we're looking at these stairs. One of the questions was brought up in the TAM. Is it necessary to have the staircase extend as far out onto the beach? You can see there's some space between the two runs, and there's also some space back towards the sandbags. That'll be discussed during the hearing, I'm sure. Next. Just another shot to show you again. Now I'm looking at the whole run of sandbags from, I'm standing in the east looking west. Next. Another group of sandbags, just to give you an idea. This is a sizable structure. Next. I'm just going to take a look down the beach. I'm looking east here. You can get a character of the land and along Surfside. Next. I'm going to look west. We're going to see some other houses obviously exist along this bluff. Next. Now I'm just down at those stairs to get an idea sweep of. You'll see a house immediately to the west. The house, of course, that's got the shutters down is the house in question, and the staircase, the walkway is working its way back to the house. That's it. Just that, that's the house that be immediately to the west of it, probably the closest house to this residence. And that's the one immediately to the east then. I'm looking both ways. That's it. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you. Is there someone here to speak on behalf of the application?
Good evening. I'm Hubbard from Toomey, Latham, Shea, Kelly, Duman, Cordero, here on behalf of the applicant, the owners of 838 Surfside, Montauk. The application before you tonight is an amended application from initial application that occurred in November 2024. The clients had originally received a notice of violation from DEC for the sandbags we just saw in your pictures. They initially submitted their NRSP application at the end of that year, 2024, to remove that existing sandbag, reorient the steps, the stairwell, and restore, revegetate, and clean up the bluff and regrading in that situation. After the review that occurred, I believe in 2025, February, we received the next notice from the board after the review. It was indicated to us that the part of the deck in question also was in setbacks, and there was a hot tub at the time as well. The hot tub has since been removed. I don't know if it was in, I don't think you probably saw the space where it was when you walked through the property, but I believe in our application exhibit G, we have a picture of it as well. So we submitted this amended application in June of last year. At the same time, we were working with DEC for an order on consent. We included that in our application as well for your review. I believe in July of last year, we were told by DEC that because we have the order on consent, we didn't need additional permits. We had been applying for those permits as well to remove this sandbag structure and as well as the reorient the stairwell. In that time frame, the order on consent was originally scheduled to, I guess, our deadline for that was September of last year. We've been continuing to work with DEC, and they're allowing us to kind of remain in limbo while we work with the town to get these approvals as well before we remove everything. As discussed in our narrative, I'll just speak to the deck first quickly. It has been in existence for some time. When our clients bought the property, there's the door that you saw in your pictures on the property that exits to nothing, essentially. It had no way down from an elevated exit, and it's large, and the clients made this small section to ensure the safety of their family and all that. And as opposed to putting a stairwell there, they just put a part of the deck to close it off to make sure they could go in and out of that door. I know the TAM, we had applied for it as a 4.5 differential. I think the TAM listed as the same, but has it as 20. The setbacks are extended because of the pool being part of the pool deck. If that wasn't the case, it'd be within the setbacks. Sorry, not within the setbacks. To move to the other portion, obviously, the bigger elephant in the room is the sandbag wall. We obviously are, of course, applying to remove that. The clients, of course, acknowledge the issue with it and are eager to remove it. As you can see from the photos, it is substantial, and the structure that the stairwell relies on at this point. So to remove it, we have to move all of it at the same time. We did have, and First Coastal is here to discuss it too. We had First Coastal check the composition of those sandbags. I actually have a letter as well, and I wanted to ask because I have the letter that I submitted a little bit later or closer in time. I wasn't sure with the new process. I have copies of it. Should I submit it to you now, or should I not do that? I don't know with the new system. Via physical copies to provide to you.
If you have them, you can provide them with us.
So I'll do that. And I also have an updated proposal as well. After looking at the TAM, we discussed with our clients in First Coastal and have proposed to reorient the stairwell in a better, I think more.
The staircase?
The staircase, excuse me, a more amenable.
So you're going along with the TAM's recommendation to redesign it to be parallel to the face of the bluff?
Parallel to the face of the bluff.
And do your changes also include having the lower section foldable or retractable?
At this time, no. Our clients did consider that option, but found that it wasn't feasible for their situation. They do have an older family member that also uses the stairs, which is why we have additional landings as well. And it would be too much to have that concern as well. That's why there's the additional stairwell. I'm actually going to take
you have
copies around.
She's going to submit.
Oh, so we're just getting this
we're just
tonight in the middle of here.
Yes, I apologize. I submitted
That's okay.
yesterday,
It's
so I just wanted to, is it okay if I approach everybody?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have you given this to the planning department? Do you have a copy for them as well? is in the file.
So as you can see, we propose, rather than have it be that orientation that you saw on our initial submission, or our amended submission, where it would still have been like a switchback, yes, thank you, a switchback orientation. Now it'll just be straight down and much closer to the block. And again, I apologize for the late submission, but we want to make sure we got it in for the hearing.
You'll get away with it tonight, but we do have new procedures coming up, and you won't get away with it.
I know, I apologize, I know, it's, and
Got it under the wire.
I totally understand. So at this point, I know obviously you just received it, but we think that is a good alternative to what we had initially proposed, and we think it's a good remediation of the issue. Like we said, the sand seems to be able to be all placed there, and I can have First Coastal speak to that as well if you have any questions for them. But if you have no questions for me, I can also let Brian speak too.
Oh, what about the walkway from the swimming pool down to the steps?
For the size of it, you mean?
Yeah, the
Width
width.
of it,
The
yep.
width.
We discussed that as well. Our thought would be that because it would require it to us to further disturb the area at this stage, if we were to, in the future, maybe covenant, of course, if we rebuild the walkway at a future stage, to then obviously make it that shorter, conforming with. We understand, of course, a lot of other properties in the area have walkways, but this is over the normal size.
It's also treated wood, isn't it?
I believe so.
The existing walkway is not what you're proposing. You're not proposing treated wood. That we
No,
have that
they're not
document here.
proposing
But the
changing it.
She was
existing,
asking if the existing was treated wood.
When that walkway was built, when was that walkway built per a prior zoning board approval? I know I read the property history card, but I'm blanking at the moment, so.
No, I believe it was built, it has been there for quite some time. It
think
hasn't
16
been,
years.
it hasn't been built. And I think before it even, I think it was redone 16 years ago. It was previously there, I believe, but not on, I think there is something strange about the CO for this property. It was the 2001 CO, I believe, lists an old survey. It didn't have an updated survey for some reason. So there's a discrepancy there in that CO.
Do we have any other questions?
One just clarification question again, because I was on the property. So, I saw the little L-shaped extra deck that's in question, that,
Yes.
right? So I know I read it in the memos and everything, you're saying that, well, because all the shutters,
Yes.
storm shutters down, so I couldn't see what egress was on the side of the house or whatever, but I still wasn't understanding, because so you're saying there was just a door that opened and dropped off?
Yeah, so when they purchased the property, it was like that. It's very odd. I don't know why it was constructed that way, but that picture and the picture we submitted to it, for whatever reason, didn't have any way to get down from that door. So rather than include another stairwell, they just kind of cornered it off. Because you can see in our submission too, that it used to be kind of, there's a diagonal piece, and they just added a little bit and added around.
So, yeah.
But as we submitted in our narrative, that the neighboring property, it's next to their driveway. Their house is pushed further back. You saw in the pictures today too, there's significant vegetation. There'd be an adverse effect there. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
will you be making a statement from First Coastal?
I was just going to ask that.
I do have a question.
Oh, we'd like to hear from you because Vice Chair has a question. Can you state your name for the record, and I'll swear you in?
My name is Kyle Hubbard.
Do you affirm to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
So I was on the site and I see the way in which it's constructed, and I'm looking at the drawing we were just handed to, and I don't see any driven pilings. You're planning on digging down, it looks like 4 feet. You're going to stabilize this staircase with, if I look at this correctly, let me open it up again. Looks like,
So these will be pilings,
yeah,
similar to every, the normal construction of the staircase. I think we were more just showing the 4 foot just is the width of the staircase.
so that 4 foot is just the width of the stairs. So as far as the depth that you're driving them into the ground, into the sand there, what's the typical procedure there?
You're looking at like 12 feet probably.
So you're going to be hand driving, you're going to bring in an automated piece of equipment you handle by hand, and you're going to drive in 12 feet, you're going to drive 20-foot poles in 12 feet, that kind of thing?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
Yep.
so I'm just concerned about the stabilization of this, removing the sand wall. You're going to be putting this basically up against that removed area, but you are going to be driving these down then to some substantial depth.
Yes, and you saw in the picture of the neighboring property, right?
Yeah.
Their staircase kind of comes straight
Yeah,
down.
I saw that.
So those would probably be, a 30-foot pile, right? Closest to the bluff where it's got to then start. And then they get smaller as they go down, obviously, as you lose your elevation. So that'll be, obviously confirmed in the field when they're actually installing.
Right.
The other piece is that, taking all of the sand that is inside those bags, using that sand, right, to soften that steepness, if you will, on that bluff face.
Right.
And then revegetating that, obviously, you're going to get, additional support on those piles, similar to what they're doing actually with the sandbags now.
So that walkway is going to come down and it's going to land on something like a 4x4 platform, and then we're going to exit to the west.
That's correct. Yeah. And exactly. Walkway comes down, right? And then turns,
and heads to the west. Yeah.
Stairs go down. We've added the 4x4 platforms, right, to separate because there's an older gentleman at the property who has a hard time with stairs. This way we could spread it out. It was a lot of stairs.
Probably
frankly.
20 risers anyway, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good amount of stairs. So this way, it spread them out a little bit and you have, a little bit of a place.
I just wanted to ask a question about, so I didn't understand looking at the drawing that you were driving piles. I see what's out there now. I didn't see any driven piles.
Well, so those piles are driven. They're just, hidden amongst the sandbags and then driven further depth where the sandbags end. Right. So it'll be the same, essential configuration starting at the top and then working downward.
Some 3.5-inch pipe, something like that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions, board members?
Not right now.
I'd like to hear from thank you, sir. I'd like to hear from the planning department.
Good evening, Madam Chair, board members, Brian Frank for the Planning Department.
Do you affirm to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
So this application has 3 elements to it, and you've discussed them all. One is the side yard variance for the L-shaped set of decking on the west side of the residence. It is attached to the pool. The pool setbacks were included in the notice to be conservative and over notice rather than under notice. I'm not exactly clear where the pool deck ends and the house deck begins, and the setbacks would change. So it was conservative to just make sure that the notice was more inclusive and not an underrepresentation. In terms of the eligibility of that for the dimensional variances, the board knows the standards, the 5 parameters that are built into the town code as adapted from New York State town law. And I don't think you need me to say very much about that. The coastal structures are the other element of the application. I'm going to put the walkway to the beach and the stairs kind of together as the coastal structures. Coastal structures don't need to meet coastal setbacks. It kind of makes sense that if you're going to have a staircase from the top of the bluff down to the beach, you couldn't have them meet a 100-foot setback or it wouldn't be a coastal staircase. So coastal structures are exempt from the coastal setbacks, but we do have some standards for them. The standard for the town, and I can't speak for the DEC, but in my experience with the DEC, which is pretty extensive, usually coastal access is limited to a 4-foot width under almost all circumstances. And And this was a walkway that was not included in the original permit for the house. The house was built in 1986, I believe. Jackie is correct. There's a 2001 certificate of occupancy, and attached to it is a 1988 CO, survey rather. And that time gap between them is a little bit unusual. A year or two between the CO and the corresponding survey is not uncommon, but that's a pretty significant gap. It's not 100% clear when the walkway was constructed, and I do have aerial photos that I provided in the file there. The walkway may have been rebuilt and widened, but trying to pick up a 1 foot width difference in the scale of our aerials is, too much of an exercise to really be productive. The bottom line is the walkway was constructed at a time when it should have needed an NRSP. It wasn't included in the initial natural resources special permit that authorized the construction of the house, and therefore I think the board has jurisdiction over it now. The area between the house and the top of the bluff is flat. The vegetation on either side is shrubby. It's not particularly delicate, and I don't think it would cause really any disturbance at all to replace it with a 4 foot width commensurate with what is done on other coastal access properties. As the board knows, the board is expected to treat similar properties similarly. You've got a lot of waterfront property, well, not a lot, but you've got a number of similar waterfront properties. Many of them have staircases in Surfside alone, let alone other bluffront properties in the town. And if you're going to deviate from that 4 foot standard, it should be pretty compelling and distinguishing circumstances. And I'm respectfully not sure that you really have that here. The staircases have been they were probably built at the time of the walkway because there was always an escarpment here, and there's really no practical way to get down to the beach even 20 years ago. The staircase, it's pretty obvious from the aerials that they have changed configuration a couple of times. They do get storm damage. They all do out there at some point or another. And the staircase had been reconfigured a couple of times since 2013 to its current configuration around 2023. And the configuration that is shown on the first coastal plan tonight is acceptable to the planning department. Essentially, you want these structures to be as far away from the shoreline as possible so that they're damaged as infrequently as possible. Having that lowest set of treads retractable, it's not something that should be compulsory, but it is something that I'd encourage the applicant to continue to look at. It's really just, we see it more and more frequently. It's just a series of hinges, either 2 or 3 or sometimes 4 heavy duty hinges. And that lowest set of treads just folds up at the end of the season. You'll notice at a lot of these properties, many people post no trespassing signs at the base of the stairs so that people on the beach don't get curious and go up to private property. And having something that folds up limits the potential for trespass. It also gets them more out of the way so they're less likely to become storm damage and become waterborne debris after a storm, which creates other messes for everybody. So that's more for the applicant's consideration than the board, in my opinion. The sandbag retaining wall is something I want to address because there was a fairly lengthy email exchange that Martha included in the OpenGov post, so it's part of the board's file. The planning department encouraged the removal of this retaining wall right away. I've been doing this for a long time. I've worked with building and code enforcement, remediating a lot of non-permitted conditions, and this property, in my opinion, wouldn't be any different. I can't speak for code enforcement or the building department, but both planning and natural resources have routinely worked with those departments in correcting situations. So Martha wrote a lengthy email about the activities that require a natural resources permit. And yes, while it's true that digging, clearing, erecting, reconstructing, altering, blah, 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 within a certain number of feet of a beach or a bluff clearly requires a natural resources special permit. The natural resource special permit standards, when you read them, are clearly intended to apply to things that are being put on the earth, not necessarily removed. So correcting something that never had a permit in the first place and getting a permit, a natural resources permit to do it is a lot more work than necessary. It takes more time. It takes the time of the board, your counsel for the determination, a coveted hearing slot, and we're at the time of the year now where by the time you made a decision, we're coming up on the ideal time to do this anyway. Late winter, early spring is the best time for coastal restorations. You get the tail end of the nor'easter season. Hopefully you don't get one in mid-April, but that's when coastal restorations have the best chance of lasting the longest and getting the most, the longest length of time of the growing season of beach grass. So one way or the other, we're coming up on the time that this should be done, but the planning department maintains that a natural resources permit should not necessarily be required for the removal. They've applied for it. You're hearing it tonight. If you want to incorporate it in your decision, that's fine. But I will note, and your counsel is sitting over here. I worked with counsel, and while this debate was going on another waterfront property that had issues, and they were in a hurry to correct them, and removal should be done with a certain amount of environmental oversight so that they're not done ham-handed and do more damage in the remediation. But this isn't necessarily the process to do it. And if you look over the years, I don't think you'll find any permits that were exclusively for applications that were made and issued for the removal of non-permitted structures in the first place. So just to get all of that on the record. Beyond that, if anybody has any questions, I'll do my best to answer them.
You've already said the planning department would approve the new drawing that we received here with the parallel set of stairs.
Yes.
Running from east to west.
Yeah, I think the one question that the applicant should address before the record closes is access proposed to come from the applicant's property or one of the road ends in downtown Montauk. If so, that should get town board approval. That's, if it's an activity that's permitted by the board, that road end access should be authorized by the town board. So if there are concerns in terms of timing and safety to the general public, that can be addressed by the town board, which I think probably goes a little bit beyond what the zoning board can do.
You mentioned that the work would be done with a pickup truck and no larger piece of equipment. At least that's what's in your document. That the only vehicle on the beach would be, and you'd have to get permission for it, but I'm saying there is no plan for anything larger than that. You're going to use the handheld driver for the poles, right? Okay.
Okay, the walkway. He said the wood walk going down to the stairs does not appear to be a problem for them to change it.
I don't think it would result in undue disturbance to the area on either side of it. Like I said, it's vegetated, it's hardy vegetation, it's flat to gently sloping. I don't see that being particularly invasive.
And then it can be changed to untreated wood.
Yeah.
Untreated wood is encouraged. I will tell you, I think it's a little less important in a well-flushed area like the ocean than it would be in like one of the inner harbors where you might be a little bit more concerned of the bioaccumulation of things like CCA or ACQ, but untreated is encouraged because sooner or later, some of this stuff does end up in the environment one way or another.
May I ask a question about the clearing on the property? So obviously it's over cleared by 9,000 square feet. Is that partially because that counts the clearing on the bluff crest that was done when they put the sandbags in? I know they're going to revegetate that part, but do you have any comments on?
I doubt it. I would have to check the aerials, but I expect that from my review of the application, the clearing doesn't seem significantly changed from at least 2001 going forward.
Okay, so you're thinking, okay.
So I think it was always pre-existing to that clearing limit, to the best of my knowledge. I didn't go back. The older aerials are not terrific.
I couldn't read on the old survey. I don't think clearing was even on surveys at that time, so I couldn't find anything. Thank you.
Any other
Chairman, yes, I
questions?
do have a question. So Brian, just for clarification for myself, you had mentioned earlier in your presentation that the walkway was currently non-conforming, and that because of the width, and that if we were to approve that, that could potentially encourage others who have non-conforming walkways to also submit applications for approval of those. And now we're talking about the fact that narrowing the walkway isn't really going to be that beneficial because it's very scrubby on either side of the walkway. So maybe I'm just confused as to.
Well, maybe I didn't speak clearly. It's not that it's not beneficial. Narrowing it to 4 feet would bring it in line with the board's practice. Doing that work is not going to be damaging to the area on either side. And if I didn't articulate that well, that's on me, not you.
That's fine. Now it's clear. Thank you.
Do we have any other questions for Brian?
No, I do not.
No. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to address this application? Matt, do we have any callers?
Yes, let's go back to unmuting 0497. My apologies. 0497. You are live.
Could you identify yourself?
0497. This is your application. All right, let's just try the next number. Unmuting, last four digits, 1667. You are live. And one more time, 1667. You are live. Madam Chair, would you like to try these numbers again?
No, I think that's enough. Thank you, Matt. Jackie, would you like to make a final statement?
Sure. I won't go back through, as Brian indicated, Martha submitted a lengthy discussion on this. But again, we're availing ourselves of what is required of us and our client for what we see as a necessary portion of the application. And as I said earlier, just removing the sandbags without, cleaning up any of the other parts of this that we need to rectify and change would probably cause some kind of structural issue anyway, if the bags are just taken out. And additionally, if we're going to use the bags, if we're going to use the sand in the bags to, grade and remediate the bluff, I don't see how we could do one without the other. So that's what I'll say about that. But regarding the 4 foot versus 5 foot walkway, I would ask if you are going to close the hearing, the public part of the hearing, can we leave it open to written comment for 2 weeks, say, beyond, or
For what?
for additional submissions about the
Access
the
and
walkway,
different
the
things that
access,
came up in Brian's
exactly. Yeah, there
presentation.
are a couple of questions we wanted to just,
Route to 29 South Federal Street.
if that would be okay.
Bit far.
We're having a wonderful night with all our automated.
So just to be specific, Jackie, you want to leave the record open for?
For the width of the, just to, if we do want to submit anything additional about the width of the existing walkway, just so I'm clear, that the access question is about getting the equipment on to do this, right? So that we can address that. We can, in case there is anything to clear up about that, we'll address that as well. I don't know if there was anything to clear up, but I will just reconfirm that. It's really just, I think I would really just like to discuss just want to confirm and discuss with the client about the width, and if we could submit something additional for that. So
2 weeks will be fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Board.
Vice Chair, would you like to make a motion?
Then in the application of the Licton Family Trust, 38 Surfside Avenue, Montauk, Suffolk County Tax Map 300-51-4-3, I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing at this time, but to leave the record open for an additional 2 weeks to allow for the submission of comments by the applicant in reference to the walkways and possible access to the beach.
Second?
Concur.
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 Thank you.
Thank you.
Our final public hearing for tonight is TMT Montauk Realty Group LLC, 261 East Lake Drive in Montauk, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 300-13-1-20. Description is to construct a 458 square foot gravel patio and 107 square foot spa within minimum wetland and bluff crest setbacks, and to construct 1,100 square foot, one-story addition, a sanitary system upgrade and wall on a lot containing a bluff and tidal wetlands. Natural resource special permit pursuant to 254 is being sought. Variances from 255-430 and 255-440 of the East Hampton Town Code and any other relief necessary. Wetland setback variances of 51.9 feet and 44 feet are required to construct the gravel area and spa, 48.1 feet and 66 feet from a wetland where 100 feet is required. A bluff crest setback, variances of 13.3 feet, and this is a typo in the notice that's being corrected. A bluff crest setback variance of 13.3 feet and 16 feet are required to construct the gravel area and spa, 36.7 feet and 34 feet from the bluff crest where 50 feet is required. Council, is the affidavit of service and posting in order?
Yes, everything seems to be in order in the board has jurisdiction.
Burger is issue.
Yeah. Okay, give some photos. And this is the notice of posting. It was properly posted at the front of the driveway. And the house is in the distance. Next.
Next, Brian.
Next.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Oh my goodness.
My daughter can see that. Played in a loop forever.
You're filling in tonight.
This is just a shot up the road a little bit to the neighbor to the north of this property, the applicant's property. Next. And, oh, well, okay, so this is the house in the background. I'm going to go around the house. This area, well, go to the next one. It's a little closer. Yeah, maybe too close. This is the area that's proposed for the extension from the house. It's going to come out, cover partially the current front entrance and wrap around over toward the area in front of the garage. Next. This is a shot. I'm going toward the lakeside and to the back where there's a hot tub proposed, which should be on the next shot. Next. This is the existing deck today in the back on which the hot tub is proposed to be put. And in the area, just in front of this, it's not in the photo, but there is a dry well that came up with a question from the planning department about the effectiveness of it, and I believe there was a response from the applicant on it. Next. This is a grassy area on the south side of the house, south and west. And this is where there's a gravel area proposed. They're calling it a dining area, but a crushed gravel area, which is also part of the variance and the NRSP requests. Next. It's just a shot of the stairs. I believe there's really nothing in question about that, but I did take a photo of it. Next. This is a shot from that area, the stairs, and just taking a shot back at the look of the house. It's pretty large now, and it's 3 levels, and just to give you a feel for that. Next. This is the egress down to the lower level of the house as we approach back to the front where part of the, there's a little question as to exactly where the addition will start, but next. Okay, I think I lost something. Well, this is an area of the, well, the upland part of the property, which still has some considerable area where things could be proposed. As it mentions in the TAM, some things could be put onto the upland portion of the property. And I think that's it. Is that it? Yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome. Okay.
Is there anyone here to speak on behalf of the application? Good evening.
Good evening, Madam Chairman. Andy Hammer. I'm here from Biano and Hammer. I'm representing the property owned by TMT Montauk Realty Group, located at 261 East Lake Drive. I know this is an unusual application, and it's certainly on its face. You might say, how did we get here? I just want to take the time to explain some of this to you, and we can have a discussion about it. By way of background, I am pretty familiar with this property. This was owned by a guy named Tom Gessler, a gentleman in Montauk. He sold it to this owner in 2021. So this owner has had the place for 5 years at this point. He and his family live there. He has 3 children. Originally, they had a couple of places, co-ops on the stretch. I forget the name of the cooperative that they own, but that's what they had before they moved into this house. Tom Gessler was a local builder out here. I know this because I have a set of ladder jacks in my basement that say Gessler Development Corp on them. I don't know where I got them, but somebody left them at my house when I was doing some work there, and they're now mine. I might get a call asking for him, but I don't think he lives out here anymore. It was expanded and renovated extensively in 2004. Pursuant to variances issued by the board. The determination of that board was dated November 2003. The application approved 1,300 square feet of additions, fairly large additions, 174 square feet of porches, 844 square feet of decking. Most of this required the bluff crest setback, the deck that is there today. Subsequent building permits were issued as a right, basically, to finish portions of the basement, construct a garage, as well as construct a pool with decking on the property. On the upland of the property. The pool was never constructed, but it was located on the landward side of the house outside of the board's jurisdiction. That 2003 approval and the house that resulted from it created the existing house, and it was designed to provide the ability to expand the house in a conforming location, basically led to tonight's application 22 years later, basically. The application was originally bifurcated, and that was kind of by design, or maybe not by design. The applicant's architect, who was here with me tonight, Frank Foligno, prepared a plan to expand the residence. I wasn't really involved in that application, but I was aware it had been submitted, and if you look at the application dates, I think that was submitted March 5th. It was designed to be 2 hearings because the accessory structure were created after, several months later, we submitted for those, and it was combined into a single application at the request of the board as well as the council at the time. The proposed addition meets all zoning setbacks, including wetland and bluff crest setbacks, and it was grandfathered in under the gross floor area limitation subsequently adopted by the town. The hearing for that, I believe, was March 6th. I think these applications were processed by the board March 5th, so it well beat it. And obviously, there was probably a couple-month lead time. Once again, I wasn't involved, but I'll have Frank get up and talk to you about the house because I wasn't, I don't have all the background on it. As you remember, the law created grandfathered rights for anything submitted until July 1st of that year. So this long beat that. It was probably in development from 2024, long before that thing was even considered, probably based on a couple of years of the owner living there and deciding what they wanted to do. The accessory structure application, as I mentioned, was submitted months after. And I want to give Frank a couple of minutes just to address the house. I'll call your attention to the clarification of the gross floor area. I think Teresa mentioned that as well. That was submitted as part of, in response to that. And the CO gross floor areas, I think, calculated on the CO exceed what's actually there. And maybe Frank can explain that to you very quickly if you swear him in. And then I'll come up and do my accessory, and I'll be as brief as I possibly can.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Could you identify yourself?
Frank Folino, architect.
Do you affirm to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Well, good evening. It's great to be here. Beautiful building. You guys are lucky to have it. I guess attorney wants me to just walk you through the house, what the thinking was, the general ideas for the addition to the house. You can see by studying the site plan that the house is set very far back from the street. It's about over 130 feet back from the front street line, property line. And it's at a very odd angle that doesn't really present a nice facade to the street. And that was something that, as the owners were living in the house over the last 4 or 5 years, really felt that they would like to correct that, to give the house a front. They were also looking to pick up a guest bedroom and a quiet study area that's, away from the water side of the house, which is, the house is basically an open plan. So it's, they just wanted an additional quiet area towards the front of the house. So that was the idea for the design, was to square the facade of the home to the street. So it really presented a front. The addition.
You're showing that to us, but can you show that so that everyone could see it on that?
Well, how should I do that?
It's fine. Yeah. Continue. Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah, okay.
I'm not sure how much this is necessary.
There you can see that the front entrance, the octagonal study, the front of the house is now square to the street.
Mm-hmm.
And it mitigates the odd angle that the house is currently laid out on. You want to go to an elevation? So now the top drawing is the front of the home. The entrance is clearly, demarcated, entry porch, gable, and the new facade to the front. And it's 1 story. It's no interior spaces are over 15 foot high. It doesn't obstruct the second floor windows, the existing windows of the house. Do you have the renderings that were recently submitted?
I don't have them on this flash drive.
Okay, I have a couple of images I'd like to pass out.
Sure.
We have.
Yeah, I think the renderings would really explain a lot more. That's kind of what I wanted Frank to go over, is how this looks from the street.
Yeah, we did get a copy of that, didn't we?
Thank you.
Today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Green. Hold on.
So just simply, the upper photo is the existing home, and that's really what's presented to the street, to the entry when you come onto the property. And the lower image would be the proposed addition to the front of the house.
So the bottom picture, the rendering on the left side of where the front entrance is shown, is that you're adding on there too?
So the addition is on the front porch, the current porch, and then it turns parallel to the side property line.
You're not going anywhere toward the south?
No, we're staying, within the required setbacks.
Nothing's being added on the south?
No, nothing at all.
It looks odd here when you look at it. And you said, now you had a drawing up there and it showed 14 feet 11 inches for the...
That's the cathedral ceiling inside.
Cathedral ceiling. How is that not, what's above that? It's marked at 14 feet 11
Oh,
inches.
the tray ceiling, flat section. Or attic, whatever you want to call it.
Is there nothing up there?
I'm sorry.
No.
There's like a little, looks like a little widow's walk on top.
Oh, so on the left side over the entryway, that would have a flat tray ceiling. And that cupola is a decorative cupola. So that's above that height, but that's on the outside.
So it's aesthetic, it's not.
Correct.
Okay.
Brian, can you go back one more? Go back to the elevation before the, okay. That's the elevation from the road now. I'm looking at that.
Yes,
That's the west elevation.
right.
And your question was whether or not they were adding all the way to the left on this, which
Well,
would
on
be the
this,
south.
on the one photo, it almost, in the rendering, it almost looks like something else was going to be there on the left side.
Well, it is there, but I think
There's
that's
something there,
existing.
but
isn't it,
that's
right?
existing then, is what they're saying.
Correct, that's the existing house.
And the cupola doesn't count of going over.
It's not
50.
within the space of the house.
The ceiling height is at 1411.
Correct.
There's a flat ceiling under the cupola.
Yep.
I thought I saw something that called it a study up above that. Is that
No, it's just
your
it's a
plan?
large room, not as large as this, and that's the study. You know, it has a cathedral ceiling.
Keep going. Keep going.
I mean, that explains the house. I don't know if you have any questions. Be happy to answer.
Thank you. Does anybody have any additional questions?
No, I'm fine.
Thank you.
I do, actually. One word for Andy, too. Go ahead, Andy. You want to do your,
Yeah, now I'll do my
Okay,
spiel,
yeah.
basically. I just want Frank to address the portion of the application that he submitted. It's kind of two hearings in one at the end of the day. Now I want to talk about the accessory structures. This is an unusual application. It's not the kind of application that I would submit to the board and expect you to look at and say, oh, yes, this is perfect for approval. It's a tough property to work with. The 2003, with the approved expansion and additions to the property, sort of set the house that you see before you now. There's no conforming lot area on the front yard, which is the front yard of the water side is the front yard, to provide any accessory structures, despite the obvious intent of the 2003 additions to retain the unique aspect of the property as well as this beautiful view shed. There's plenty of room landward on the front side of the house where accessory structures would not be of value to the owner. The front of the house is within wetland and bluff crest setbacks. These areas also that trigger the need for additional relief. I explained all this to my client when he first came to me. I said, hey, you know what? You've got all this great property. You've got all this room in the back. You can do this as a right. You can pull, there were building permits pulled for pools. And he said, well, I have no desire to expand in that area of the property behind the house that's currently developed and the proposed additions. And really, he just wanted to seek some pretty minor, minor accessory structures, despite the need for relief from all these important metrics under the code. And basically, he said, I want what I'm asking for to relate to how my family intended and has used the property, not how we could use the property more intently. So the key to this plan there's one structure, a little bit typically larger than a typical hot tub at 107 square feet. My client wants this structure for his own use and the family use, and I'm sure this board has heard they provide important health benefits to people like me of advanced age, and I'm realizing that now. The hot tub is proposed to be constructed within the existing deck area at the same level. It will barely touch the ground. Basically, there'll be a support for it underneath, but it won't touch the ground. Other than its structural bracing, and it'll be elevated. We even proposed a dry well, and that was one of the other concerns, is the dry well is actually proposed in the landward location, and the planning department questioned whether or not it would be gravity fed. In fact, it will be. It will flow down to the drainage structure because of the elevation on this structure. So if you look at the two elevations, I think the landscape architect submitted a letter. I don't want to go over that again. The second structure that he wanted to have was a place for his family to have outdoor dining, I forget what they call it, a dining court. It's larger and more informal than can be accommodated on the existing deck. Obviously, that's the area that has the beautiful view shed. So there are other locations you could look at. Oh, well, could you move it here? Well, you're probably not going to be improving the setbacks, but it's really about the view shed. You could also dine just on the grass, I suppose, if you wanted to. The structure is just quartz gravel constructed in a legally existing lawn. And we even proposed a drainage structure that will actually improve the drainage conditions in the area. There's absolutely no contribution to any surface water runoff to the lake. As a matter of fact, it'll probably be overall reduced by the gravel structure as well as the capacity of the dry well. When I spoke to him, and I've thought about this a lot, in the continuum of structures, theoretically, we're starting with lawn. legally existing, pre-existing grandfathered lawn. The most beneficial use of the property in this location next to lawn would be native vegetation. And as part of this submission, we proposed a pretty significant revegetation plan that targets areas on the lake side of the property that are pre-existing non-conforming to HPOD because it long predates HPOD. And we proposed 4,350 square feet of re-veg in this area using woody vegetation, trees, grasses. You can see all of that on the LaGuardia plan. Do you have that, Brian? You can scroll up. There you go.
So, okay.
So that's the proposed revegetation plan that is part of our NRSP for these structures. Continuing on the continuum, so you have grass, then you go, oh, the best thing is vegetation. Any hardened structure could potentially have additional impacts, like say you did deck or patio, concrete, whatever, and that could be deleterious to the bluff crest and wetlands, increasing surface water runoff, coverage, et cetera, increasing the intensity of the use adjacent to these important resources. In our case, we picked probably the one surface that is less impactful than any other structure I can think of, crushed quartz gravel, basically. And it has its own drainage. We're actually reducing surface water runoff from the property that would contribute well beyond outside the gravel area. We have 450 square feet of proposed crushed gravel. In addition, we're mitigating this by giving up nearly 10 times, I forget, maybe it's 9.3%, 9.3 times the same area in revegetation on a property that is legally grandfathered in at the current clearing levels. This revegetation would mitigate both the small gravel area as well as the hot tub on the deck, which doesn't result in any increase in lot coverage, building coverage, anything at all. Clearly, there are alternatives that my client could build a sizable pool, he could build a hot tub, he could build a pool house, and any other accessory structures on the lot in the area that is outside of this board's jurisdiction. I wouldn't be here tonight. This would be introducing a lot more lot coverage, total lot coverage, and as I said, wouldn't be in the jurisdiction, but it would also not trigger any form of mitigation that we're offering here tonight. The re-veg, as the TAM notes, is probably the single greatest benefit we can provide, together with the additional drainage that we showed. And at nearly 10 times the square footage of our small patio, it's a great way to eliminate any potential impact and, in fact, improve the environmental conditions on the property. The house and its addition meets all zoning setbacks. The variance standards applicable to this project, essentially target the hot tub built within the existing deck and the crushed gravel dining area adjacent to the house. Variance standards do say that the benefit to the applicant should outweigh the detriment to the general health, welfare, safety of the public. And in this regard, I would submit that we do. Building larger structures further from the wetlands, larger and more extensive, essentially, would result in more coverage, zero mitigation. So this is an opportunity for the board to bring this property closer to compliance with ACE-POD that was, as I mentioned, was adopted long after this house was constructed. I would also point out that this board approved the additions to the structure in 2003. Granted, this is a different board, different time frame, et cetera. I think it's unreasonable to expect that everything's going to retreat from the shoreline after they built a fairly significant addition and renovated it in 2003. We have a situation, I think, that will be made better by our project and provide a shared benefit between the applicant, the town, as well as the lake by ameliorating some of these existing clearing conditions. And I would respectfully ask the board to consider our argument and approve this. I'm sure you're going to have questions, so what do you have?
Board, yes, question. Hi, Andy.
I knew it was going to be Jane.
Well, it's all probably going to be all of us. Anyone but Jane. We have a property history card in the file, in the public hearing record, as we always do. And I studied it closely, as you knew I would. And so if I even start back in the 1966 CO that outlines the square footage of the house, and I snake all the way through the additional building permits for the additional things that were approved, in terms of expanding the house. And I look at all the COs, including all the way up to the one that was done in 2021. Everything on the property history card, which I believe is supposed to represent the official size of a house, among other things, tells us that this house existing, not counting the basement, not counting the garage, is 3,966 square feet.
Yes.
Okay, so obviously if you were to add 1,100 square feet to that, this house would exceed 5,000 square feet. Okay, so.
We have the revised calculations that were done by the licensed architect with the takeoff under the existing code. I can't explain why there are those discrepancies. I do know when a lot of those discrepancies arose, things weren't quite as pronounced as they are today. I'm trying to remember when the town first adopted gross floor area limitations, 2005 maybe? Probably even predated it. So I don't think there was a lot of concern put on it, but I can't explain it other than to say it's clearly incorrect because our architect recalculated it and those are the accurate numbers that are in front of you.
But I mean, but I still don't know how to reconcile because it wasn't one mistake. It's like, it's over all the series of years.
It was parroted, yeah, it was parroted throughout the building history. And that was kind of one of the questions of the planning department, which is why I don't measure square footages. That's why I had Frank's office actually call it out and measure it on the plan. And it does show that it will be compliant with the town code limitations in effect at the time.
Did you seek any corrections from the building department?
No, as a matter of fact, the correction to the building department will be if, in fact, this project, gets a CO, it will read correctly because we have the correct calculations going into it. But it will certainly have to be corrected. We're not asking for a gross floor area variance. His plans actually represent exactly what we're seeking square footage wise.
Have you submitted those, the work that?
Yes, it was a letter, basically. That was, and it actually said, hey, this is the actual calculation, this is the square footage, and I measured it. None of these areas exceed 15 foot in height, bang, bang, bang. And we came out to the exact square footage that is proposed in this application.
So nothing inside the existing house has any double height?
That is correct.
No.
I'm sorry, I'm asking Andy.
But it is strange to see such a large discrepancy. I must say, I've been doing this a long time. I've never seen that before. And, but that's just the way it was. And it was a different era back then.
Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any
You just say
questions?
you are proposing, though, if there was to move forward, this would all be corrected, the document.
That's correct. We cannot build more than the square footage we provided because it's close to the max.
Obviously, we have a problem if if Frank's work is not accurate, so we have to have that.
We're all relying on Frank because I can't calculate things like that.
A lot of pressure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can we hear from the planning department now?
Good evening, Brian Frank again for the planning department. So the property is on East Lake Drive, and as you know, this portion of East Lake Drive is within the Peconic Estuary Critical Environmental Area. It's a New York State significant fish and coastal wildlife habitat. It's part of a scenic area of statewide significance. The shoreline of Lake Montauk and Lake Montauk itself is a protected natural resources. This application does have two elements to it. Applications should not be bifurcated and create twice as much work reviewing the same property twice. And really everything, that's being considered for a property should be entertained under one umbrella, but it is practical within the body of that application to consider them separately. And that's the way I'll address the accessory structures and the addition to the house. With respect to everything Andy said, I think that he is wrong about everything. Obviously, people love to be near the water. So from the perspective of a homeowner, it's understandable. You want that dining area as close to the shoreline at Lake Montauk, who wouldn't? You want to be in the hot tub with a view of the lake, who wouldn't? But we have setbacks to protect the resource, and that's what they're there. These have minimum setbacks, and I'd respectfully offer that these accessory structures don't meet any of the 5 variance standards that you have in the town code. Variances are substantial. They're numerically substantial relative to the minimum setbacks that are required from bluffs and wetlands. There are alternatives. They're not the minimum necessary. Andy told you himself, there are conforming locations located in other portions of the property. Again, they're far from the minimum necessary. The wetland setbacks and the bluff crest setbacks have not changed since the property owner bought this property in 2021. These were the setbacks that existed at the time. Andy mentioned the addition that was approved earlier. It was approved on the landward side of the residence for a reason, because that is what maximized setbacks from the shoreline. Let's remember what variances are for. Variances are to relieve a practical difficulty in complying with the requirements of the town code. And they're enumerated in New York State town law, and that is kind of summarized into the town variance standards into the town code. So this property benefits from being close to the shoreline. It has a view that newer residents don't have. There are properties that were built in compliance with the wetland and bluff crest setback that are much farther from the shoreline and much closer to East Lake Drive. The price of that is that the conforming locations on this are on the landward side of the property. And this does change the character of the neighborhood. If you grant these variances, you're lowering the bar for what you're granting. There are a number of other properties right in this area that are similarly close to the shoreline. You'll see a couple of them have built accessory structures in the conforming locations of the property, or at least in an area that meets better setbacks. Maybe some of them needed variances. I'm not doing a lot by lot comparison up and down the street. But clearly there are alternatives here. This is counter to the purposes of what our setbacks are for. And again, boards are expected to handle similar properties similarly. So granting these variances for the accessory structures would lower the bar and would increase the nonconformity of the property, both the hot tub built into the deck and the dining area. The gravel area is a structure. I'm not sure that Andy is right about improving drainage. Crushed gravel, compacted gravel has a higher runoff coefficient than grass. I'm not an engineer, and neither is Andy. I'm not suggesting you leave the record open for an engineer, but to suggest that because you're putting a dry well under the patio, you're making the drainage better is optimistic. I'll put it that way. The addition, I think, is a different story. The addition is designed in a conforming location. It meets setbacks. I think Andy is forgetting some of the mitigation that's built in, that's required both by the board's practices. Long before HPOD was adopted, the board had required upgrades of sanitary systems. They're somewhat mandated by HPOD now, but we shouldn't lose track of the fact that there is a nexus between making a house bigger and producing more sanitary waste, and putting an IA system in the eastern portion of the property, the way it's proposed, is mitigation. I have to, and runoff control. You're obviously going to have runoff control on the side, on the portion of the house. The code requires, and the prior zoning board determination requires a roof runoff to be directed to subsurface dry wells to minimize surface runoff. I will say the revegetation plan is disappointing, and I say that because I work with Andy's office and LaGuardia Landscaping very often. Morgan wrote a very thorough analysis of this application. That's who I'm standing in for tonight. And the mitigation summary hasn't changed on this. We recommend woody vegetation more than grassy vegetation, A, to keep out invasives, B, to keep out mower creep. So the revegetation plans should be predominantly woody and not as grassy as the plan that was up there. It's commendable you want to take it up the side yard properties to reduce the overall clearing on the property. That's fine because you're reducing the overall clearing of the property. But the importance is in getting a better buffer to the shoreline. And in that regard, this planting plan is not one that the planning department would recommend that the board approve for the reasons that I just mentioned. The other thing I want to mention about the accessory structures is nothing that Andy said, if these structures were granted, would preclude this owner or a subsequent owner from building outside of NRSP jurisdiction or in a more conforming location in the future. So really all you're doing is intensifying development within setbacks. I can't account for the discrepancy in the square footages. I will tell you, as somebody who's looked at a lot of building plans and a lot of COs, I have seen them not align a lot. I can't explain why. I don't know what the discrepancy is associated with this. It is possible, though, that lower recreational area that's almost 700 square feet is square footage on the house, but it's not counted as GFA according to the town code because it's in the basement. I don't know that accounts for that discrepancy, but it's possible. I do, pardon me, I do appreciate what the architect did by putting his stamp on a letter that says I've calculated the GFA according to the town code, which takes into account the measurements to the exterior walls, and I've calculated the GFA to be whatever it was, 3215 or whatever that number was. That's pretty much all I wanted to say in my presentation. If I can answer any questions from the board members, I will.
Well, if, in the TAM that Morgan had written, you have, even if the area of the lot where the gravel patios were revegetated, the non-conforming location of the residence and deck still does not allow conforming clearing limits with respect to that bluff setback, and that the existing residence and deck leaves little room to extend the existing scenic easement or to meet the clearing limits of that.
Well, that's correct. This house is always going to be non-conforming to bluff and wetland setbacks. And that area between the house and the shoreline, the ability to improve that buffer, as Andy was trying to herald with the revegetation plan, is limited. And that also indicates the importance of doing a better job in that area with a little bit more robust plantings than switchgrass and blue stem throughout most of it, peppered with the shrubs.
If we look at the addition on the landward side of the structure, and it requires no variances, it's only an RSP on the addition.
Correct.
Yeah. An NRSP, yeah. But I'm saying, that's what so anyway, when I look at that, and then I ask myself about adding on all these other conversations we're having about what's going on the water side of the house, but it's fair to say that that's been designed and proposed in the best possible location here for addition of this size. There's no other place that this could have gone that we would have had it in such an acceptable location. Isn't that fair to say?
It's conforming. It's conforming to the town code requirements. Or, notwithstanding the fact that it's pre-existing to the old GFA calculations. In other respects, it's conforming with the town code. And that's why the planning department does not object to the addition, but does object to the accessory structures as proposed.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, you mentioned the sanitary system. Where is that going? And is that in the best possible location?
It's north of the garage.
North of the garage.
Okay.
And is there any concern there about any runoff from that?
I'm sorry?
So is there any concern about runoff or things from the sanitary system? You think that's in the best location?
It's in a very good location. It could be a little bit farther, but it's an upgrade. It's farther landward than the existing system, and it's an IA system. I think it's generally acceptable.
Okay.
Brian, may I just go back to your comments on the re-veg, which I appreciate what you're saying. It's sort of the content of the re-veg. But can I just ask you to say, because I know the whole thing is pre-existing, non-conforming clearing, but it will still be, quote, over-cleared relative to the HPOD standard by something like 8,000 feet or 70%. So your view on that is, you're saying that if the vegetation itself that is proposed is more robust, you're okay to leave such a deficit to HPOD?
Those aren't the words I would use, but when something.
Okay, well, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but yeah.
When something is pre-existing,
Yeah.
we would encourage bringing things into compliance as much as is practical as possible. Could they revegetate and completely comply with HPOD? Yes. Is there a strong enough nexus between a conforming addition and doing that? I'm not so sure that I feel comfortable telling the board yes. So if more is better. Let me be clear about that. But I also think that quality is more than quantity. I would rather see a better re-veg in the areas that's proposed than a less robust re-veg over more of the property.
And the scenic easement on the survey is already in place? That's scenic easement? Yes. Right, that was from the last ZBA,
I believe so, yes.
Right?
It's not proposed.
Are we good? Thank you, Brian. Is anyone else in the audience that would like to address this application? Come forward, sir. You need to state your name for the record, and I'll swear you in.
Sure. My name is Jay Levine.
Do you affirm to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do. May I ask questions?
Of course.
Okay. My wife and I own the property just to the north of this house, and I'm not knowledgeable about the topics that you're discussing today. So excuse my ignorance, please. In the notice that we received, there's a reference to, descriptions of the topics that you discussed today, and there's a reference to a wall. A wall, W-A-L-L, but there's no discussion of a wall. And I'm just curious about the wall. It says, let's see, construction of a 1,100 foot one-story addition, is it a 1A sanitary or an IA sanitary system? I'm sure that's important. Upgrade and a wall on a lot containing a bluff and a tidal wetland. So I'm curious about the wall, number one, because I didn't see any discussion about a wall. And number two, since it was just discussed that the sanitary system is on the north side of the garage, and the garage is almost flush with the property line, that is the property line of our home, I'm just curious as to, is there an alternative location for the sanitary system? Just because sanitary systems are kind of ick. I know that's not a technical term. So those are my two questions. A, wall, and two, is there an possible alternative location for a sanitary system?
Well, our planner...
Sorry for my ignorance.
Oh, no, that's why we're here tonight. Our planner has already suggested that the location for the IA system is in the best possible location. And in terms of the wall, Brian, do you want to address that?
Possible location or an acceptable location?
I didn't really know whether it was a wall.
Acceptable isn't the same as best possible.
I should clarify. I should come up there and.
Yeah, I'd like you to do that.
I guess.
And where is the wall? Do you see it on the survey?
No, I didn't see it. I missed it.
I'm sorry, I'm not quite as familiar as, I'm sure Morgan would have just knocked this off the top of her head because she knows this application so well, but she was unable to be here this evening. The wall looks like it's proposed on the south side of the driveway on the opposite side from Mr. Levine's property. It looks like the sanitary system setback proposed to the wetland is 170 feet. HPOD regulations require systems to be located a minimum of 150 or as far as possible when they're when they're upgraded. If it's a tear down, that's different. So in this case, this is a system that complies. Septic systems are IC, and this system is proposed not far from where the Levine's system is located on the survey there. It's probably again, it's a compliant location. It's more than 150 from the shoreline. It's an IA system, which are better than the conventional systems for disposing wastes. It could physically probably be located farther from the shoreline, but it doesn't have to be to comply with HPOD requirements, if that answers the difference between best and acceptable.
And remind me, the septic system in the ground is not required to meet a setback to side yard?
No, I believe that there's, yes, it is required.
That's jurisdiction of Suffolk County Health Department. They're in charge of where sanitary systems. Suffolk County Health Department's in charge of where there are setbacks from property lines and roads and things of that nature, but that's really not our jurisdiction.
It meets it. It's 5 feet.
It won't approve it. If it's not okay, Suffolk County won't sign off on it. It won't get there.
Okay, I was just trying to make sure I understood. Thank you.
It's 5 feet.
5 feet, if I'm not mistaken, it's easy to look up. I believe it's 5 feet for the leaching components and 10 for the tank from a property line or a treatment system.
Okay. So then
And
the
this is
wall.
currently 15 feet, if I'm reading the map correctly, or just about 15.
I'd have to measure it.
The garage is 15 feet.
If you have a survey and a scale, then you're doing better than me.
That's just reading what the survey says.
You can watch me use the measuring tool in the Foxit that I'm not familiar with, and I can embarrass myself like being on my phone.
Sure had enough.
I hope she never knows about what happened. We can't tell her. She'll love it forever.
I promise.
Additionally, though, if we were to ask them to move it further to the east, I guess, it would not move it any further from the Levine property line. So it's not Mr. Levine's concern. Would have to be a complete relocation, not just moving it further to the east, because obviously it's behind the garage as it is, right? So we come up along the line, we wouldn't be any further than Levine's, unless it was redesigned to come out around, I guess, in the lawn and hold that location.
It doesn't, moving it doesn't provide greater protection to the Levines in my non-sanitary engineer opinion.
But it would be further from our home.
I get you.
You could.
It's a closed system, isn't it? No?
Yes.
Yeah.
We also have,
At the mic so that it picks up.
we also have pretty strict clearances from wells on neighboring properties. And we have radiuses drawn around all the properties, and that's the window where it really fits. Basically.
Has to be a certain
That's just about the only spot it could go.
I'm sorry.
Okay, well,
Just
while
actually
you're there, can you explain the wall?
Yes, that's exactly where I was going.
That was the question.
So the wall, was really a thought about creating a bit of a courtyard between the house, the garage, and the south side of the property. It's really not much more than a schematic idea at this point. It could be evergreens, it could be other green plantings. It was an idea to create more of a courtyard in the front of the house.
How tall is the
High
wall?
is that wall?
Maybe 5 foot.
5 foot?
Yeah.
It's 5 foot?
5 foot.
Pretty high. A fence, a hedge, it's.
A natural wall is
Is this
different than
the line
a
of
structured
the
wall.
wall?
Yes.
Does that wall have 3 sides on it right
No.
now? Is that
No, it's just a straight line.
just that one side?
Mhm.
Okay.
I'm still missing it on here.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, that is the wall, okay.
Any other questions, board?
I'm fine.
No.
Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to address this application? Your turn.
On the,
Back to line, go online again.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me ask one more question. Matt, do we have any callers?
You have 0 callers. Thank you.
Thank goodness.
Okay, so a couple comments on the wall. I saw it on the plan. This would be, whether it's a fence or a wall, can be 6 feet in the front yard, and you get the flip on these lots or whatever. So it is perfectly allowable, but it wasn't really drawn out and doesn't need a variance, basically. I think it's allowable. Doesn't need an NRSP where it's located. It's hard for me to recover from Brian saying that I said everything incorrectly, but I'm going to try my best at the end of the day. I do think there is no nexus between a conforming addition and requiring re-veg on the property. I think there is a nexus between varying a natural resource special permit, variance, and requiring some mitigation for that. And that's basically what I was trying to impress on you. I do think this is distinguishable from some of the other properties. The modesty of this. I mean, it's hard for me to say modest, but hey, this is a crushed gravel area. You could have we didn't propose the Eiffel Tower. This is really as modest a structure, if you could call it a structure, in an area that even Brian admits, hey, if you own this house, that might be exactly what you want, but the zoning board's the one that has to look at it. It's not based on, is there a conforming location? It's a variance analysis is based on a balancing. I haven't heard how this is going to cause an identifiable harm. I think we've tried to, do the best we can. Yes, our revegetation plan, the components of it, I can't speak to. I didn't, that is proposed by our landscape architect. However, if the board said, hey, you know what, resubmit a revegetation plan that's more woody or get to Brian's approval, that's fine with me at the end of the day, because the sufficiency of what's planted there isn't within my realm of understanding, but it is something that I think we could absolutely improve and get it to the point that Brian, and I'm sure it's Alex Bluedorn, and I'm sure he's worked with him a lot, he'd probably be able to, come to some agreement as to what is appropriate there. However, I would say that, this is really a benefit versus detriment. And is there a detriment? Well, I think there is an improvement of overall based on having this mitigation that's brought into this property. And in terms of having an aggressive application, having a hot tub in an existing deck where it's barely touches the ground, and having a dining corridor that is crushed gravel is about as de minimis. And if the board were to deny it, yes, the applicant can have much more, expansive structures on the north side of the house. That's really not his intent. And I was thinking about this even today, like, well, what if we said we wouldn't build anything else, or we'd remove that? Is that really appropriate? I think this is what the guy has asked for, because this is what he wants at the end of the day. And if the board finds that it causes an unnecessary detriment, which I think is difficult to do on the record, that's your role at the end of the day. But we're trying to do the best we can with what the owner wanted. And he hasn't asked for any of these other structures because that isn't what he wants on the property. And I think this is pretty modest at the end of the day. With respect to the sanitary, I think once you start talking about moving it vertically, I don't know if there's an appreciable difference, but it does more or less line up with Mr. Levine's sanitary system in more or less the same location. And, could it be moved? Yeah, I suppose. At a certain point, you're going to need an injection pump if you're going to move it that far, which I don't believe this system currently incorporates. But if that were something the board wanted, I think we could explore it and figure it out, how to achieve another 10 or 15 feet. But I don't really see an appreciable benefit back from that, moving that extra 10 feet. It's in a good location, an acceptable location, I think is what Brian said. So other than that, any questions, I'm happy to answer.
I have a question about the revamp.
Yes.
So what's going to happen potentially if the accessory structures are not approved and the addition is? You say the revamp is not, you won't do the revamp? You kind of leave it.
I don't think there's any mitigation. I don't think there's any nexus between the two, a conforming addition and revegetation on a property. We're not doing any additional clearing for the addition. It's in wholly cleared areas, basically. And we're on the landward side. We're going to be installing drainage, all that stuff. So I would protest the inclusion of revegetation to mitigate something that conforms to zoning.
It still requires an NRSP.
Yeah. And you're increasing coverage.
Yes, coverage that's mitigated by putting in drainage, et cetera. An interesting question.
Can I ask you one thing I forgot to clarify? The deck on the rear, on the seaward side of the house, is that being reconstructed as part of this in place and in kind, or you're just dropping a spot?
Well, there has to be structural enhancements to accommodate, and I think we did submit that in our the landscape architect, just to actually.
But it's the exact same size, the deck.
There is no expansion whatsoever of square footage. It doesn't add to lot coverage. I think if you look at the surveys, we're well below building coverage, lot coverage, all those other metrics on there as well.
I just couldn't remember if you were demoing it and rebuilding it. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm ready to go forward and close this application. I'm sorry. Brian?
I'm sorry. Very quick, I just want to point out, I don't understand what Andy's talking about, the modesty of the application. When you talk about the quartz gravel, where is there any science or technical criteria that crushed gravel is somehow more benign than a cedar deck or a bluestone patio? I don't see that. And I think the crux of it is what Andy kind of said. This is what the applicant wants. It's understandable to want to be as close to the water. It is not what the town code standards are. There is implied detriment to the resource because we have minimum setbacks for a reason. But again, that's not the variance standard, and Andy knows it. The standard is the applicant has to demonstrate that they have met the threshold of that 5-parameter test. And in this case, it's kind of obvious based on what you have in the file that it's not clear that they meet any of them. Lastly, I do think there is a nexus between revegetation and needing a natural resources special permit. It's been a practice that the zoning board has been doing for 40 years. How much is kind of a question. But to suggest that there is no nexus between needing a natural resources special permit and reducing clearing or improving a buffer to the shoreline when one is this deficient is not in keeping with the longstanding practice of this board. And where that goes, that's yet to be determined. But you can't re-veg your way out of bad variances, in my opinion.
Thank you. Andy?
Yes.
Anything to add?
No,
But, you know,
I
but
do think that the zoning board has been conditioning driveways shall be made out of crushed quartz gravel, not bluestone. So there is some correlation between the structure we chose with things that the zoning board has been requiring for 20 or 30 years as gravel improvements associated with driveways. So I do think there is some tread on this tire that says, hey, this is a structure that has been imposed by the zoning board and seems to be preferred over a lot of the other structures that you could. We don't pave driveways in NRSP, but we will allow crushed gravel. So, it's really up to the board to perform the balancing test. Yeah, there is some substantiality to these variances, but I think you have to weigh it against the benefit and the detriment test on this one. And I do think that the re-veg was submitted as part of my application for the accessory structures, because I understood we were asking the board for relief that was exceptional and outside of normal, zoning setbacks. It's up to the board to decide what conditions they would apply to an NRSP on the addition. But I would say that
one application.
This is one application. That is correct.
Become one application.
But it was bifurcated at that time, basically. So, for that reason, they're different things.
Right, but it's one application now, so we're reviewing it as a whole.
Yes, absolutely. So, but that's within the board's discretion, and in terms of what or if any revegetation would be assigned to any particular aspect of this, but it was promoted as mitigation for the variances that we requested.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Member Berger, do we have a motion to close the public hearing and record?
Mm-hmm. So for the application of TMT Montauk Realty Group LLC, 261 East Lake Drive, Montauk, tax map 300-013-01-20. Make a motion to close the public hearing and the public record.
Second.
Concur.
Concur.
Concur. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
It happens often.
That one was my second schedule, second agenda.
Oh, did I grab it?
Maybe.
Let me just put the, his call. Okay. Oh, let me get.
Sure.
Okay, we're going to move on now to the post-hearing decision of Brian Crawford, 40 Agnew Avenue in Montauk. Suffolk County Tax Map Number 300-31-2-33. Description is to legalize an existing shed, deck, and shower and replace an existing deck on a parcel within the jurisdiction of a freshwater wetland. Relief sought is a natural resource special permit pursuant to 255-420 and variances from 255-430 and any other relief necessary. The following variances are required. A variance of 79.2 to allow the deck to remain 20.8 feet from a wetland where 100 is required. A variance of 51.3 to allow the shower to remain 48.7 from a wetland where 100 is required. And a variance of 72 to allow the shed to remain 28 feet from a wetland where 100 is required. Zoning district is B residence, AE flood zone, elevation 11, secret class type 2. Vice Chair.
Thank you. Madam Chairwoman, the board will remember the hearing was held on February 3rd, 2026. We were working from a survey from September 12th, 2025. At the outset of the hearing, we realized when doing the field inspection that there was an incorrect posting. It was determined it was not the fault of the applicant, but nonetheless, the property had to be reposted. What was posted was just a statement that this property required an NRSP, did not have hearing times, and it was then subsequently reposted. I did check with our secretary today about it, and the documentation was provided that we had looked for, and so there was some question about that, whether they had followed through correctly on all the protocol to get us to the point. We did go on with the hearing that night because it was not in effect the problem that was put forth by the applicant. There were several aspects of the project that were discussed. It was just read in by our chair, what they were and what they were looking for. But quickly going through, there were a couple of things here that had to do with work that was done by the applicant, and that he owned the property for 32 years. He stated he had a little of this and a little of that. Now he was in because he was looking to rebuild a deck at the front of the house, and he needed to get some sort of approval for the location of several items that had been added over the years. One was that the original approval that went with the C of O in the house allowed for an outdoor shower. And now there's an outdoor shower in a different place and a slightly different size. We questioned at the hearing whether or not there was a dry well. He said at one time there was, but he'd be willing to add one now to see that there was a dry well for that shower. So that shower, then we would be certain that we weren't working with a formerly either collapsed or filled dry well. So that was one comment merely made by the applicant in favor of what he might do to appease our concerns. The other thing that we discussed was, one of the other things we discussed was the location of a shed. The shed could never, the property is, by the way, very constrained, down in ditch. All those property sizes are small. They're all up against one another. We determined in the hearing there was no absolutely conforming site for the shed, but the shed could be moved technically. It could have been moved further from the east to the west. It was brought up at the hearing, however, that if in moving it to the west, unless we were willing to ask him to take down several trees that were in the way of moving it to a place that might be the best location for it, he would only move it about 5 feet. We later on discussed this with the planning department at the hearing, and the feeling was that neither the shed nor the shower, having been there for as long as they were providing any real danger, environmental danger, to the small pocket wetland that's slightly to the east. So we could have asked him to do it. We can ask him to move it, but taking down the trees was a concern at that time. I mentioned there was 1993 C of O, and work had been gone on from that 1993. It's part of an older subdivision, and as I've mentioned, that they're all very, very tightly, all those properties are very much constrained. There was a 1994 notice to the applicant that he needed an NRSP approval for work that was being done. The notice went out. There was no response from them, so there wasn't an effort to come back in to do anything about that. The survey that was accompanied the survey that accompanied the C of O was from 1993, so nothing had been done until he was in to see us. He was also looking for a deck extension request. He withdrew that at the hearing because we realized we did not have documentation for it. He had it in mind, but it did not follow whatever procedures would have been necessary to get it on a survey or get it to us in a form that we could consider it, and that was withdrawn. In the end, with the addition of the dry well for the shower, and the location of the shed being somewhat contentious, should we move it and take down trees? Should we leave it, and or should we ask him to move it then approximately 5 feet? It can be done. The planner at the time, Jake, said to us that he saw that there was no significant environmental impacts from the improvements as they sat now. Wasn't sure what the positive benefit would be for having us to move them. So I think the withdrawal of the request, there was a verbal request, we didn't have it in writing, request for the deck extension. Oh, and the other thing about this is that the forward desk that he wanted to extend was to be rebuilt in kind, in place in kind. And that's why he was in front of us, because he wanted to do that work and realized he needed a permit. He needed an NRSP. So it was a little bit of a confusing hearing. I don't think that the applicant understood when he came to us exactly what he had to propose. But I think our conversations there went along the lines of deciding whether or not we wanted to see these changes made and if they were going to make any positive environmental improvement. It's kind of important to note that after the hearing, we did not hear back from him with any other proposals. There wasn't any other conversation. So we have to go on what was said just at that night. I'm not going to have a problem approving it. I think there are small changes to the property. I think the shed is the biggest question for us here. And I think the shed, moving the shed, it was brought up by one of the other board members. Did we really want to see trees cut? The answer, I think, was no. We thought that there was probably a better environmental protection for the property, leaving that vegetation. And that's about it. I mean, it was a very short hearing. I mean, it wasn't as short as it could have been, but it was short because we didn't have a lot of information anyway. And I'm going to approve it. I think it was a bit of a muddled one, but I don't see that we, by approving this, are creating any additional environmental strain on the wetland or on the in the neighborhood. So I'm going to approve it, Madam Chairwoman, at this time.
Thank you. Member Arandia?
I was not here for that presentation.
Oh. Okay.
Okay. I have a question. I know what?
No, go ahead with your question.
Oh, okay. Well, about the affidavits, Charlie, we did eventually get proper affidavits and notice with that?
I never saw one, but Sam.
Got a comment?
They dropped it off that they had posted the property. So, I mean, it is a notarized document.
So you got an affidavit. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Can we have your decision, please?
Yeah.
Member Berger?
Yes. Okay, basically, I agree with what Vice Chair Johan said. I am going to disagree about the shed. I think it is a very large variance. I think there was nothing definitive about, exactly that some trees had to come down. They brought it up depending on where they had to move it. Possibly there was a tree in the corner. I do think there is a more conforming location along the stone walk, so somewhere in the area of the shower, and I do not think that there are any trees on that property that are in that way or in the way of it. I think it would improve the variance or basically to something similar to what the shower would have, which would be in the range of about 51 or 2, as opposed to a variance of 79 feet. So I agree with everything else that Member Johan said, and I will approve the other aspects of it, the shower with the new dry well and the decking, but I am denying the variance for the shed.
Member Mary?
Yes, thank you. So in terms of the variance for the deck and the shower, I agree with my fellow board members, and I will be approving them. And although they are substantial variances, as I understand it from the hearing, and also from the planner who said there didn't seem to be any material environmental issues, and the fact that these structures, I think, have been there for like 40 years or something. I don't see any incremental problem with them, and a dry well to improve or, you know, mitigate on the runoff from the shower. With respect to the shed, I definitely listened to the applicant, and he was concerned about having to take out trees, and no one wants to see that. I think, though, what wasn't really made clear, I think we would have liked more information, because, you know, when you look at the survey, there's a fairly large area there in back, and I think, did we determine that the shed was on a, it's not really, there's no basement, right? It's on a foundation, right? So it's movable, and I also think the shed was put in more recently than the other things. So I don't think the hurdle was met, that the shed could not be in, if not to, I don't think you could ever not have a setback variance, but to improve, to put it in a less non-conforming position. So at this point, I agree with Member Berger, I will be denying the shed variance.
Okay. There is nothing in the record that these structures have had any adverse impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood, or that there has been any disruption of important natural features. And there does not appear to be any evidence of negative impact to groundwater and surface waters on and off the site. I do believe that this application meets the standard for NRSP and the variances requested, and I'm going to be approving it in its entirety.
Yeah, we're 2-2 on the
denial on the shed.
Yep.
So my suggestion is that, Sam, when we have plenty of time to do this determination, we don't have to finish this today. We can come back later. So I would suggest to our fifth member that we should rewatch the public hearing, review the paper, and then next week, if we come back, you can deliberate, or the board can also think about it longer. And if anybody changes, if it's mine or not, whatever, and then Mr. Member Arandia can then issue his final determination on, we have an approval for the deck and the shower already,
Yes.
but just the shed.
Just the sheds.
Yeah. I mean, you can do the whole, you can do the whole application, but the thing that we need to do is, so that's what I would suggest.
I agree with that.
I agree.
Okay, you're able to do that? Okay, good. So when would we like, what's the timetable?
We have plenty of time, but
Okay.
we have a meeting next week.
Yes.
We have a meeting on the 7th.
Yes.
I believe, right?
I just want to give him enough time to.
Right. Yeah. We have a
And
meeting on
still
the
meet the
7th, and then we
deadline.
don't have a meeting until the 21st. So.
And that meeting on the 7th is going to be pretty big, right?
Maybe next week's meeting.
Maybe
We
next
only
week's
have-
meeting? Would
which one
next
is
week be
we
too
only have
soon
one
for
public
you?
hearing scheduled.
Yes.
Okay.
The 7th, we have one public hearing, and then just the DEIS.
I think we can put it on that night, though, because it's not that
Why can't we
big
put
an
on-
application.
Well, it's only, and
Yeah.
you guys don't have to do anything, it's just.
It's just for him, exactly. And do you feel that's enough time for you?
For the 7th?
For 2 weeks? Yeah, okay.
Yes.
We have more time.
All right,
If
sounds
you
good.
decide it's not enough, we can put, we can go to the following. We have time.
Okay, very good. Okay, next. Next is a minutes approval. Member Berger.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve the draft minutes for the East Hampton Town Zoning Board of Appeals for Tuesday, March 10th, 2026.
Second?
Concur.
Concur.
Concur. Next is the resolution for 186 OMH LLC, 186 Old Montauk Highway, Montauk, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 300-87-3-19. Who was this? Was you, Terry?
Oh, this was mine, yeah. I didn't get through that whole resolution. Did everyone else look at it? Everyone's okay with it?
I did read it before, but do you want to wait till next week?
We can wait till next
Well,
week.
can we wait till next week? Yeah, I'd rather
The
read it
time is
first.
there, so we can
Okay.
table it for you.
We'll do it next week.
Great,
Okay.
thank you.
Table.
Okay, Vice Chair, do we have an adjournment?
I will. Thank you. Madam Chairwoman, I'd like to make a motion to close the Town of East Hampton Zoning Board of Appeals public hearing and work session for March 24th, 2026 at 9:00 p.m.
Second.
Concur.
Concur.